Tom Hegna, thank you for joining the podcast today, the Optimized Advisor podcast. We appreciate you tuning on. You know, you and I recorded an episode. It was actually episode 87. It was about 2 years ago. We were chatting a little bit about China and Russia, and I think it was called shrinkflation and some other things that were going on at the time. It was an interesting conversation. So thank you for coming back and joining us today.
Great to be with you.
It's, I would say certainly if you've been in any risk management in your career, you'd be living under a rock if they did not already know who you were. So I would say with respect to you, we probably don't need to do a long drawn out introduction. Although I think we would be remiss if we didn't say a few things. The author of a few books, TomHegna.com. You've spoken, I would guess, to, is it 100,000 plus advisors and insurance professionals over your career?
300,000 now. So
300,000. Oh my, how dare I understate such a thing?
Well, I've spoken all over the world. And then I had the PBS TV special that played in 80 million homes in the US and Canada. Don't worry, retire happy. That was a big one for me.
An illustrious career. Congratulations to you. Are you still finding yourself working as hard, or what's changed as you sit here in the chair today?
I'll tell you exactly what's changed. So, you know, for 30 years, I spent 200 days a year on the road. And what I would do is I'd take my calendar, I'd put all my speaking engagements on there, and then we would travel around that, or I'd golf around that. Now I put our travel and my golf tournaments, and then I speak around it. That's the difference. So it just changed my priorities. And so, I mean, I'll still do, you know, I'm not doing 300 and 400 events like I was for all those years, but I still might do 30, 36 or something. 2 or 3 a month is fine for me, live events. And I can still play a lot of golf, and we can still do a lot of travel. So that's kind of my goal, 2 to 3 live events a month. And I do, you know, a bunch of webinars as well.
You seem happy, sir.
Well, I'm just walking the walk. I'm not just talking the talk. You know, my book was my 2 main books, Paychecks and Playchecks and Don't Worry, Retire Happy. Everything in those books I've done in my life. And so, I mean, I can tell you firsthand it works, and we're having a blast. We just got back from a 3-week trip. We took a cruise from Barcelona to Athens. I landed on a Tuesday afternoon, and Wednesday at 4:30 in the morning, I was on a flight back to New York to shoot 10 more episodes for CNBC. So, I mean, I'm busy, but I'm still, I prioritize our trips and golf over the business now. That's the difference.
You're not that you or rhetorical statement, you were never in control, but it sounds like you're definitely very much intentional with the time that you're allocating, the things that you're choosing to do and invest with your time. You're not a passenger, is my point.
No.
And I will say a lot of advisors find themselves in life being a passenger to fill in the blank.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, I was always very frugal. I always saved 30% or more of my income. And some people think that that's a negative, that you're not living life. But you know what it gave me? It gave me total financial freedom. I now have total financial freedom. We can literally do whatever we want, whenever we want to do it. You know, I still have a purpose in my life. I still need to educate a lot of people on how to retire the optimal way. I'm still going to do that. But that's not my top priority. My top priority now is spending time with my wife and spending time with my friends and golfing. And that's my number one priority now. But I'm still actively engaged. You're going to be seeing, I just hired 3 companies to help me drive more revenue this year. One's going to focus on Facebook ads. One's focused on building my YouTube channel, and one's doing a LinkedIn outreach, to other companies like McDonald's and Google and Walmart. I want to speak and teach their employees how to retire successfully. So not just the insurance industry. I want to get out of the insurance industry too, just to help mainstream, Americans retire properly.
I absolutely love that. And I want to put a pin in that because I have some very specific comments and questions in that vein, as we progress in this. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, is there anything you would have done different in your career?
You know, I never really look back, and I never regret. For my family, I would say maybe I worked too hard for a while. I did. I was probably driven by my work. I could have worked a little less. But then, you know, the thing is, if you want to really be a game changer out there and you want to be that person who's really, out there with retirement income or whatever, you can't do that 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You just can't. If you're going to change the world, you really have to invest time.
Go all in. You gotta go all in.
My family definitely did some sacrificing, but now even my wife says, wow, now she can see it's kind of worth it because now we're really enjoying our retirement.
Yeah. So some chapters are meant to be that way, but like, look, Tom, you went all in. I mean, and the industry needed that. You were an advocate and a spokesperson for our industry for many years. And there's a lot of people who are appreciative of that sacrifice that you did make on a personal level, and everything's a trade-off.
Yeah. And I said this thing about balance and the thing, if you're trying to be balanced every day, it's not going to work. You're going to be frustrated. What I read was balance comes over seasons. When you're a student, all you're doing is playing and studying. You're not working. Then all of a sudden you go into work and all you do is work. And then, you retire and you play golf, but over your life, you can be balanced. But I don't think every single day that it's even worthwhile trying. I was out of balance most of my life, but in a good way, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll move on from this. The comment I make all the time is, as humans, one of the beautiful things about it is we're all perfectly imperfect. And that's kind of the point of it all. And we make decisions, we do the best we can, and we move on. So thank you for sharing that. And I do appreciate, when I saw you present in February of 25, the willingness to share some of your personal perspectives and insights. For example, how you manage your finances and the decisions that you make and the disciplines that you've instituted. It drives a point, as opposed to just being a talking head about all the things that people should do and not living what you preach, and being willing to share that makes a big difference.
Yeah. I own 13 annuities. I just finished a 12-pay whole life at $226,000 a year, which is a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be, because that's like $400,000 pre-tax to get the 226 after tax. And my wife and I have unlimited benefit long-term care policy. So everything I write about, speak about, we have done.
Which is fantastic. More should be such the example, leading by example. So as we get into it, Tom, what's different? So we spoke 2 years ago. There's a whole subset of things that were going on at the time, and a lot of things don't change. But I imagine there's an incredible amount of shift that's happened with the introduction of technology and the scary word AI, if you want to use that term. Last time we spoke, what should advisors really be paying attention to right now that maybe they hadn't had to 24, 36 months ago?
Well, I think they need to get comfortable with AI. Like, you don't have to be an AI expert, but I use AI every single day. I mean, this morning was amazing what I was able to do with AI. I was asked to do a presentation on how AI is impacting the industry. Well, I don't know how AI is impacting the industry. I asked Claude, make me a 20 slide presentation on how AI is impacting the industry and doing this and this and this, and some tips for agents and advisors to stay ahead of the curve. Boom. There's a 20 slide presentation made for me. I mean, that would have taken me days in the past, and I did it within like 10 minutes. But, I was at a meeting in Vegas just a few weeks ago, and one of the agents raised her hand and she said, Tom, I made a presentation to a client and they took the illustration, they loaded it into AI, and AI said, don't do it. What would you have done? And I said, well, I would have loaded it myself into AI and said, is this the optimal solution for this client? See, instead of treating AI as your enemy, it can be your best assistant, and it can help you craft the best optimal solutions for your clients, so that if they then feed it into AI will say, yes, you're working with a great person. It's interesting. I wanted to know what AI knows about me. AI knows a lot about me, and it thinks very highly of me. That's a good thing. And so, if you're not, if they don't know you in AI, you need to start loading some of your writings and works into AI so that they can get familiar with you and get your voice. And I mean, now AI helps me with my social media posts, and I get 47 reshares that I used to get 2, It's amazing. So I use it every single day. Agents should get at least familiar with it. You can't keep up with it because it changes from day to day. Last week's information is old news. So I'm not saying I'm on the cutting edge, but I'm saying I participate and I can see what it can do. And I think agents who say, oh, I'm not AI, they are going to get left behind.
They will be. Yeah. What I've been saying is, look, advisors, AI is not going to replace an agent or an advisor. However, advisors who do not adopt it will become obsolete, and obsolete becomes out of the business.
Yeah. And let me think about it. If you're in the retirement market, you're more protected than other markets, because is the average 60, 70-year-old, 80-year-old out there, really using AI? They're probably not. They still want to sit down at the kitchen table and do business. But the younger people are all going to be on AI. And that's the longer term threat, is what are younger people going to do? Are they going to feel comfortable enough just to deal with an AI agent, or are they still going to want a human being to deal with on a, one-on-one basis?
Yeah. I mean, with you in your career and having the opportunity to speak, rub shoulders with 300,000 plus advisors and agents, you're a macro observer at a high level. You have the opportunity to experience and see and observe things that many in our profession do not. You are an influencer. You have influence over advisors and agents' decisions. Are you seeing a major shift in certain aspects at the carrier level, at the agency levels, at the investment firm levels? Is there anything in particular? What are we doing right, and where are we missing the mark?
Well, I think we're doing a lot right. And I think AI is going to help with underwriting, and it's going to help with product design, and going to help with all that. It's going to be very positive there. But our industry is still a little fractured. We have, roughly half of the agents or advisors out there that understand annuities. They're pro annuity. They know where it fits. And you got a whole bunch of super sophisticated so-called fiduciaries who are still not using annuities. They don't use life insurance. They don't use long-term care insurance. And they just, out of hand, they don't use them. And those advisors are going to be in big trouble with AI, because AI does not subscribe to that. AI subscribes to 20 to 40% of a retirement portfolio being an income annuity. You must have a plan for long-term care. Yes, you should have investments, but growth is no longer your number one thing. It's having income that you'll never outlive, and your lifestyle is way more important than what the rate of return is. And so, I think the advisors who think they're too good for annuities, that, annuities are bad or something, they're the ones that are going to get hit in the face first, because they're dead wrong. They're on the wrong side of math and science.
Yeah. I mean, to put it bluntly, I think it's just becoming outdated thinking, right? Consumers aren't as interested as much today, certainly generation 2 and, the boomers' children, in just investments. You've got to be more than that. And I would say, well, let me ask you this. Would you agree that that's one of the things that's separating the top, let's say 10% of advisors from the rest? Are these the ones that are effectively implementing these solutions and really being comprehensive and adopting risk management?
Yeah. The advisors I see that are at the top of their game are either they are a registered rep, or they have a registered reps in their office, and they can do everything. And they don't say annuities are bad. They don't say investments are bad. They don't say crypto's bad. They say, okay, here are all the tools. Now, what's the best tools to use for this client or that client or the other client? And I think that is the very best way to do it. To say everybody has to have an annuity or nobody should have an annuity, those are probably not the right way. You can't say, this product is bad and that product's bad. We only do this stuff. That those advisors and agents are going to be out of the business.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It is, if you think about it too, it's much more of and you've been, from the beginning, Paychecks and Playtex as an example, talking about income and how to efficiently, I'm going to say, monetize income planning and retirement, where it is the shift from accumulation mindset into income. And the other key word to this is protection.
Yeah. So, New York Life was about 10 years ahead of the industry. And I was at the tip of their spear in training every agent, manager, wholesaler on retirement income, that's the future, not accumulation. And let me tell you, that was not an easy sell, because accumulation is so much sexier, so much fun. You can do this, you can invest here and all these rates of return. But that's not what's important in retirement. In retirement, it's all about income and risk management. And so I had to research and find the sexy things about retirement income, the mortality credits that nobody knew about and all these other things. And so those were the things that I brought to the market. Academics knew it. Dr. Moshe Milevsky knew it. Dr. Menachem Yari knew it, but the average person didn't know it. And so I took the writings of all these academics and Nobel Prize winners, and I put it in English, so everybody could understand it in very simple terms and why it's so important to take longevity risk off the table in retirement.
So last time we did a little bit of like a fire round and I made some comments and you just responded to what thoughts were, what came to mind. I've got a few if we could do that again. I thought that was very helpful and effective. And one is, which you just segued into it. You started it. It market volatility and sequence of returns risk, and just the importance of understanding that and how it affects retirement.
Yeah. And what I tell people is sequence of returns risk is nothing more than good luck or bad luck. If you retire into a bull market, hey, you got good luck. You're probably going to be successful. If you retire into a bear market, bad luck. You're probably going to run out of money. And I'm just not going to subject my retirement to good luck or bad luck. I mean, you can look at two people who had the exact same amount of money, exact same investments. They retired like 2 years apart. One became a multimillionaire. One went dead broke. The only difference, one retired into a bull market, one retired into a bear market. And, if you're selling shares when the market's going down, you have to keep selling more and more and more. And then when the market goes back up, none of those shares can go back because they're gone. And so people don't understand that in retirement, you can average 10% a year for 20 years, only take out 5% a year and go dead broke pretty darn quick if you retire into the wrong years. And so don't let good luck or bad luck, determine your success in retirement.
And this is so what are the solution sets? The solution sets are invest.
Guaranteed lifetime income, at least enough to cover your basic living expenses.
Right. Guaranteed lifetime income. Now, what about just the proper structure and utilization of a cash value life insurance policy if I planned ahead enough?
Yeah. So Ernst Young, they don't sell any life insurance. They don't sell any annuities, but they put AI to work and they're smart people. And they said the optimal retirement portfolio consists 30% of income annuity, 30% cash value life insurance, 40% investments. That's not what I said. That's what Ernst Young said. And I told you, I put a 12 pay of $226,000 a year. So I'm serious about cash value life insurance inside of my retirement portfolio. It gives me tremendous flexibility. I can get money just like this. It comes to me tax free. And best of all, it's protected from creditors. Because here's the thing. Once you get some money, the last thing you want is somebody to sue that money away. They can't touch any of my money in the state of Arizona. None of my money in life insurance and annuities can be touched. And that's where I do have the bulk of my investments.
Yeah. I mean, look, the two main points there you just said, well, first of all, there's the leaving of the legacy, tax-free transfer of wealth from one generation to the next, if you want. 2, the tax-free income, major advantage, especially as we look into the future. 3, the asset protection, state variation. So just be mindful of that. Not all states are created equal in that regard. You live in a good one in that aspect. But those are 3 main benefits to now, what if you added on benefits that actually provided some ability to access the money for extended care, i.e. long-term care, if that may be. So
absolutely. And I do think the hybrid life policy is better for most people. Now, I have a traditional long-term care policy, but we got it in our 40s when we still got the unlimited benefits. It was a great deal. But for most people, I think the life insurance is a great deal because it serves 3 purposes. Number 1, it's an emergency fund. If you need money, you can get money out of the policy. Number 2, if you need long-term care, there's a big bucket of money for long-term care. And number 3, if you don't use long-term care, guess what? There's a tax-free death benefit that goes to your family. It solves 3 problems with just 1 product.
Now, what do you say about those who say traditional long-term care bad?
Well, no. I mean, traditional long-term care insurance is still going to give you probably the most coverage. But the thing is, the reason people don't like it, there's 2 reasons. Number 1, it's kind of use it or lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And number 2, the industry did not do a good job of pricing that product. And many companies have had to go back and raise prices. And that's very unfortunate. So that's another reason why I say that hybrid life policy might be a better choice for some people. And then if you have medical problems, now there are annuities that offer long-term care benefits as well that you don't have to qualify with your health.
Yeah. What we say is any imaginable solution that you could think of on how to pay for, how to leverage assets, how to reposition assets on your balance sheet from one pocket to the other. There is a plan that exists to leverage your dollars in some capacity or tax favored benefits that will help cover at least some of the cost of care.
Absolutely.
How much is up to you. And that's the planning that we as the industry, as the experts, deserve to deliver to the consumer. What about behavioral gaps that you would say that are still driving just bad outcomes, whether it be a consumer or an advisor?
Yeah.
So, for example, just not understanding the impact of my dollars in the future, managing expenses just as a starting point, or any other things that come to mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's start out with young people. I say almost all Americans could be multimillionaires except for two simple things. Number one, they spend way too much money in their cars. And number two, they get divorced. So the moral of the story is drive a used car and stick with your first spouse. Now, I say that a little tongue in cheek, but, I have a new slide. I wrote a book, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, for young people. And in there, I have a graph. It's my favorite slide. And it says, turn your car payment into $1 million. And it shows 3 car payments, a $250 a month, $500 a month, and $1,000 a month. And every one of those car payments reaches over $1 million. And the $1,000 a month tops out at $5.4 million. And I know couples where both the husband and the wife have $1,000 a month car payments. Do you really think they know they're driving their $10.8 million retirement down the road? And if they knew it, do you think they would put $10.8 million in those cars? No way. They don't know it. So that's one big mistake. Another big mistake that retirees use is just thinking it's all about rates of return. Oh, I got to get a higher rate of return. They're not managing the risk. What if they need long-term care? What if the market crashes? What if you have sequence of returns? All these risks, inflation. You've got to manage risk. And then retirement is all about income, not assets. It doesn't matter. The people with assets are miserable in retirement. The people who have guaranteed income are happier. I mean, there's been all the proof. And now the proof shows 3 things. When you put an annuity into a retirement portfolio, 3 things that math and science proves. Number one, it will improve portfolio performance because the annuities outperform the bonds. All right. Because of the mortality credits. Number 2, you're going to be happier in retirement with guaranteed lifetime income. That's what the research shows. And now number 3, people with guaranteed income live longer, up to 20% longer in retirement than people who don't have guaranteed income. And so, I mean, if something improves your portfolio performance, allows you to be happier and live longer, how could anybody be against that? Whether it be a client, an attorney, a CPA, a broker, how could they be against that? They're foolish if they are.
So to that point, you just posted, and I think it's a very important point to double click on, and how we are seeing more and more major institutions such as BlackRock now validating guaranteed income strategies. And you posted BlackRock, the 100,000 simulation study to figure out the single best lever for retirement income security. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that just hits the nail on the head, and it's very, very timely.
Yeah, they said the number one lever is guaranteed lifetime income. They also said adding guaranteed lifetime income improves portfolio performance by 20-something% and reduces downside risk by 33%. Now, this is BlackRock. They sell no annuities. They've got $13 trillion, and I guess now $14 trillion in the stock market, more than Vanguard, more than Fidelity. And they're saying, but they're smart people. Ernst Young, they have smart people. They don't sell annuities. They say the same thing. Barclays, an investment bank, says fixed index annuities outperform bonds. The Wall Street Journal, the case for moving some bonds to annuities. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. Goldman Sachs sells no annuities. And yet they say if you add an annuity to a retirement portfolio, you can take out more income than if you just try to do it with a stock portfolio. And all they do is stock portfolios. So, I mean, the research is overwhelming that it's going to improve portfolio performance. You're going to be happier and you're going to live longer.
So all of that's true, Tom. But I'm not saying but how do we get over the lack of sexiness and the appeal and all the sizzle that the people rate of return? What do you say? What do you do? How do we continue to lean into this holistic planning and we're going to say doing the right thing?
Yeah. I think consistency of message is important. If you look back what I was saying 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I've been consistent the entire time. I haven't changed my message every year. I mean, I update, I have new references.
Your post says 35 years you've been saying this.
I've been saying this for over, yeah. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think here's what's going to do it. The next big downturn in the market, we are going to see a flood. And what's so unfortunate about that is now is when people should be moving into annuities. You should be selling high. You buy low, sell high. Markets at all-time highs. Now people should be taking some profits and buying annuities, locking in those gains, but they don't. And so now the market will drop 30, 40, 50%. They'll panic. There'll be a bunch of annuities sold. And it's unfortunate that people can't see the future. I got a little upset with our country club is doing a renovation, and it's going to be like $11 million. And they said, well, we can do this without any assessments. We're going to do it just with our capital dues budget and everything. And I said, but in the slide, it said, assuming no economic event. And I said, well, okay, what if there's an economic event like 2008, 2009, 2010? And you know what? They came back. They said, oh, that's hyperbole. That will never happen. I go, I can promise you it's going to happen. I just don't know when. And so, I think people don't realize that these significant market events do happen about every 7, 8, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. And another one's going to happen. And then we'll see a big tsunami coming into the annuity business.
It's volatility is our friend. In the sense that it's fear versus greed, right? And the sad part of it is it's a reaction to the action that has already occurred, as opposed to being proactive and doing the right things ahead. I mean, using a health analogy, like everybody knows if I eat clean protein and I eat my vegetables, I maintain a more healthy diet style. I feel better. I do all the things, but it's hard to do.
Right. But that ties into your behavior. What are the behavioral mistakes? They sell when the market crashes, and that's really when they should be buying. They should be selling now, taking advantage of the high payout rates in annuities, taking advantage of the money they made in the market. This would be the perfect time to move 20 to 40% out of there into annuities, but they'll wait till the market crashes, then they'll do it.
Yeah. And that's just the reality of behavioral finance, and to the point of just these behavioral miscues and gaps that exist in us as humans. And to find an advisor that is the disciplined voice and helps to reinforce doing the right things, find that person. That's probably the best thing you can do. But you said also to continue talking the talk and living what it is that we speak. What other, you're a big advocate over the years. I've always been interested in the math and numbers and the science, as opposed to just the behavioral part of things and the psychological, the emotional part, I should say, is getting rid of the emotion and just sticking and being committed to the numbers. Is there anything else that you're seeing as kind of a tipping point, whether it be geopolitical or interest rates or other things that you're talking to and seeing today that are striking a chord?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think this war is causing a lot of uncertainty. Gas prices are way up. I think they're going to come back way down once this thing gets resolved, but who knows how long that's going to take. And I say in times of uncertainty, what people crave is certainty. Our business is a business of certainty. We have guaranteed interest rates. We have guaranteed income for life. We have guaranteed death benefits. We have guaranteed long-term care coverage. We have a lot of guarantees in our business. And I think that's what people need right now, is to hear that word guaranteed, because they don't hear that from their brokers. That's for sure. Yeah.
It's very true. Thank you for all of that. Now let's reposition to resources that you're providing both in person, but also through your resource online or resources online. One of the things that we do as a company, which we call the Race to Success, which is really broken down by 4 main pistons, if you will. So it's a motorsports theme. And one of those pistons is Business Throttle. Business Throttle is how advisors can deploy business development strategies, how they can implement and perfect and improve upon practice management strategies. A lot of what you have and what you have done over the years speaks specifically to that, or certainly expertise. So if we could spend a little bit of time on some things that you're working on, that you're doing, that advisors can tap into to help grow their business.
So let's start out with the free things, and then we'll move into some of the paid things. The free things, I have a YouTube channel that we're going to be pumping some serious money into. So Watch my YouTube channel. That's free training. You can go to tomhegna.com/webinars, tomhegna.com/webinars. I have 6 or 7 free webinars on life insurance, on Don't Worry, Retire Happy, on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And at the end of every one of those webinars, there's an offer, a great offer that we have no place else on our website, where you can get my training, my books at a very much reduced rate. I mean, like a $450 value for $150, that type of thing, or a $4,000 value for $499, stuff like that. And so watch those webinars. Those are free. I would encourage people to read my books. If you don't like to read, listen to the audiobooks. We've got DVDs, although nobody has DVDs anymore. So they're MP4 files, so you can watch it on your phone or on your TV or whatever. Those are good. I have a whole online training coaching program called Tom Hegna On Demand. That's where I literally put my brain online, and you can watch everything I know about life insurance, annuities, long-term care, Social Security, prospecting, business insurance, estate planning. So there's a training side of it, and then there's a client coach side. So I can coach you before every appointment. You go to client coach, a video me pops up. I say, tell me about your appointment. Is the client single or married? You click single. How old is this person? 70. Once you hit those 2 buttons, a video me pops up. Okay, so you're meeting with a 70-year-old widow. Here's going to be her key concerns. Here's the products you're probably going to use. Here's the questions you should ask her. Here's going to be her objections. Here's how I would handle those objections. And I coach you for 5 to 8 minutes before you go on the appointment. The next day, you're going on an appointment with a 35-year-old couple. You hit married, 35, and a video me pops up, and I coach you totally different than I did the day before for the 7-year-old widow. And the third thing it has is what we call Retire Happy You. And that's for clients and prospects. It's a very simplified, the 7 steps of retirement security from Don't Worry, Retire Happy, where they can watch me do it. I don't sell any financial products. You can say, look, if you don't believe me, watch this guy. He doesn't sell anything. And you can rotate clients through there. So that's available. I'm on CNBC almost every Saturday morning. I just was in New York last week, filmed 10 more episodes on CNBC. So if people want to be on TV, you can do that. Just go through my posts. Ruth Collins is the point of contact. Ruth Collins, she's the producer. You just give her a call and she'll explain it all. But, so I mean, there's numerous ways that I can help people. I can do webinars. I do client events, although not as many because I'm not that affordable anymore. But Greg Parody down in Florida still brings me in. He puts 450 people in the room, and it works out really good. And he's probably the top annuity producer in the country. So I still do, some client appreciation events. I typically do the bigger meetings like for Libra and NAFA and MDRT and those types of meetings.
At the advisor level, I'm curious from a prospecting perspective, seminars, whether it be in person or virtual, or just the general statement of virtual prospecting versus in-person prospecting. Do you have an opinion?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many ways.
At the advisor level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For the advisor to prospect, first of all, I always tell them, you want to build your social media presence as big as possible because, I used to have to pay for baby leads. I used to have to pay for people who just got married or just moved into a house. But if you just watch your social media feed, if you got several thousand people in there, they tell you when they're pregnant. They tell you when they're having a baby. They tell you when their mother died. They tell you when they bought a new house. They tell you when they're changing jobs. They tell you just watch your social media feed and you got 5 or 6 people to go talk to every single day. Just swing by. When I was at MetLife, we had we had Snoopy, right? And so we had these bibs, Snoopy bibs. I bought them for like $1 a piece. Somebody had a baby, boom, I'm at their house with a Snoopy bib. And I'd say, hey, here's a little present for you. But remember, now you got a child. There's kids' college education. We got to set that up. You need a lot more life insurance now because now you've got somebody, you got to get all the way through college. So we need to talk about that. Let's set up an appointment. And I would just go visit these people just unannounced. And it was very successful for me.
I think that's a great point as I kind of unpack that. Was that the greatest idea? No, but you had an idea of getting the bib and sticking to it and committing to it. And then what did you do to deliver? You had a clear message and objective of what you were planning to achieve. So the advice there is come up with a consistent marketing strategy, commit to doing it, execute in that, and have clear messaging.
Yeah.
Now it kind of goes back to the beginning of your call go ahead.
Have fun with it. I see too many advisors that are just trying to always be so serious. Clients want to deal with people who are having fun. Have fun with your job. Have fun with them. Enjoy your clients, and not everything has to be so serious every second of the day.
And to go back where we started, I mean, for heaven's sakes, maybe you're not the greatest content creator or the greatest writer or doing all these things, but have an idea. Use AI, for heaven's sakes, to come up with the idea, and it'll save you time.
Yeah. And, my whole social media strategy is I put out things that I think the agents wish they could put out, but they don't have the time. And so all they have to do is share my stuff. Just share it. And you're going to look pretty smart that you're bringing really good content, because I try to deliver really good content. And a lot of agents just share my content. That's their social media strategy. So it works out good for both of us.
So we've talked a lot about some good ideas and things that advisors should be considering, or just generally speaking from a retiree standpoint, pre-retiree standpoint. Are there any things that you're seeing in the industry currently that advisors and agents should absolutely stop doing? Like, stop doing this kind of a thing. Stop talking about this way. Or is there anything that comes to mind? I mean,
I see a lot of sketchy claims around IUL. All right. Now, IUL is a great product, and it can be a super great product, but I just see a lot of, stuff that misrepresents it. Any type of universal life policy, the key is you got to overfund that policy. Okay. You've got to overfund universal life, because if you don't, those policies can blow up and be a disaster for clients. And so, that's one thing about universal life is you've got to keep that thing properly funded. And, they're not going to have $10 million if they just put target premium in an IUL. They're not. So don't tell them that they're going to, and they're not going to retire, for happily ever after if they're paying a target premium on $100,000 IUL. They're not. You need to I put $226,000 a year in because I want to have millions of dollars of cash value. That's how you get it. You got to put money in there if you want to have a lot of money. And so, I think some of that is unfortunate. But then I think the on the other side, the advisors who don't sell any life insurance or annuities or long-term care insurance, and they're calling themselves fiduciaries, that's ridiculous. They're not acting in their client's best interest. And you're going to see more videos coming out from me on YouTube on these fake fiduciaries and fees versus commissions. Commissions cost the client way less than fees over 20, 30 years. And I'm going to expose some of this stuff that's been just run roughshod over insurance agents.
I think that's great. And I commend you. Thank you for bringing up the IUL. I mean, you see so many just bad actors out on YouTube and projecting it to be this panacea. Just be honest. Just be straightforward with what it actually is and how to properly structure it. The other thing the industry just doesn't do, we haven't done great on IUL, is the sense that, in order to do right by the client from a cash accumulation standpoint, you got to suppress the death benefit. You got to overfund that thing.
Yeah.
It's the only way it'll work. It's the only way it'll work for cash value purposes. If the objective is just guaranteed death benefit, that's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that I would say we got to stop doing is some of these indexes in fixed index annuities have severely underperformed. They came up with these managed volatility things and some of these other things. I'm working with a couple guys right now that have come up with what will be the top performing S&P 500 index in the market. And they're using AI and some things to do that. And so I just think we've got to get back to real actual performance, not manufactured performance, not back testing, not, if it does this, it'll do it. No, what has it actually done? And we should stick with the very best indices over a 5 and 10 year period of time. That's just what I believe. I just think, when the market's up 28% and the client goes up 1.4% or is down 2%, there's something wrong with that index.
Yeah. Amen to that. Thank you. Stick to what works. Back tested, validated, all of those things. Absolutely true. So, all right. As we close, let's recap a few things. One, advisors, we encourage you to evolve from just being an investment manager to retirement income architect and an asset protection expert. Consumers are hungry for this and they need it. What else?
Use it. Get involved with AI and use it. Like you were saying, what should agents do to prospect? You can go to Claude or Grok and say, look, I'm an insurance agent in Des Moines, Iowa. I need to increase my sales. Give me 10 actionable things that will increase my sales within the next 30 days. And they'll go boom, 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 and then pick a couple and implement. I always say Grok is the smartest person I know. Claude is the best assistant I could ever have. And so I use these all the time. And I would encourage agents to do it too. And once they start seeing what it can do, they'll start thinking of other things it can do.
3 is a magical number. If you ask for 10, pick the top 3 that you want and implement those top 3. And then you can always add on another 3 if you want.
There you go.
It's a great idea. Was there anything, could you think of, if you were starting out today, is that what you would do? You'd simply you'd go to Grok, you'd go to Claude, you say, I want to be a successful advisor in this community. Wow. This is what I want to do. What would you do today?
I mean, I would definitely, how did I learn what I learned? I learned from the Kinner brothers and Joe Jordan. I had a manager who didn't really believe in training. He said, go and write 100 cases, you'll learn the business. Well, that wasn't good. I'm a military guy, so I need a little bit of training, right? So I found these old dusty VHS videotapes of the Kinner brothers, and I watched them over and over and over and over. And pretty soon I'm on appointments. I'm speaking just like the Kinner brothers, and it worked. And then I learned from Joe Jordan. He was the head of Annuities at MetLife at the time, and he taught me all these neat things. And so you need to learn from somebody, whether that's me or Ed Slott or Van Miller, or pick your David McKnight. You pick your person, but then become an acolyte and really study it. I'll tell you just a quick story. I was filming a CNBC episode last week, and the guy I was interviewing was word for word everything I've ever said. The guy has studied every word. I felt like I was interviewing myself. I'd ask him a question. He would say exact word for word what I gave in training, a year or two ago.
Oh my gosh.
Word for word. I mean, it was crazy. But he said, Tom, I just use your stuff and it all works. I just say what you say and it works. And I said, well, yeah, it does. But I've never had anybody that was that word for word. It was just really, wow, really interesting.
That is very, very interesting.
And then build a playbook of disinterested third party references. And if you don't have one, just go to tomhegna.com, click on the advisor playbook. You can buy it. All right. I already made one for you, but that's all those third party disinterested party. And it's powerful when you carry that on appointment. Someone says, well, I don't believe in it. I heard they're expensive. No, here's what the experts say. And you get them to change their own mind instead of trying to change their mind. They change their own mind.
Make a plan, be disciplined to execute, stay the course, do the right thing. For heaven's sakes, it shouldn't be that complicated, right?
Right.
Tom, this has been a true pleasure. Seriously, this was a impactful episode. I always appreciate the time with you and your insights. Sincerely, and to all of our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Optimized Advisor podcast is intended for financial professionals only. The content discussed is for informational and educational purposes and should not be construed as financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Listeners should consult their own professional advisors before implementing any strategies discussed. Views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Optimized Insurance Planning or its affiliates.